All right, Rock Solid MUZKAST Experience. We got Aaron and Dave today, just me and you, buddy.
Yes.
No Patrick, no Jermaine. I don't know if Patrick's coming back. I haven't talked to him for a while.
I did get a text the other day from Patrick from 3 Days Under. I did get a text. He actually thought I was Aaron Michaels when I texted him. And then
That's the only reason you got a text back.
Yeah, I probably thought that.
Because you were a different Aaron.
Yeah. and so I know Jermaine's in Indiana, and this little event called KCF.
KCF?
Yeah.
Or KFC, as you like to call it.
Well, you know, Dave. Yeah. Yeah. But on the line with us today, all the way from Virginia, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's Trey Tate.
Yes.
Welcome to the show. Hey, so you're help me pronounce it. It's Wythe?
Wytheville, or Wythe County, Wytheville.
Wythe County.
Yeah, it's named after George Wythe, who was a signer on the Declaration of Independence. So
okay, learn something new every day. I had never heard that name before.
Most people think it's Wytheville or Wythe County. When I'm talking to somebody that's not from here, and I go to tell them what it is, and I'm just it's just Wytheville. It's Wytheville. Just call it however you see it. It's fine.
It's Whiteville, Aaron.
Yes. Are you born and raised in Virginia?
Oh yeah, I'm born and raised in this county, man. I grew up, born in the hospital here, and then grew up about 10 minutes down the road, still in the county, but just not Whitfield itself. I grew up in a different town, smaller town. The town I actually grew up in, there's maybe 500 or 600 residents. So very small town, man.
I see.
Well, small towns are good things. I'm getting tired of a big town. I can tell you that right now. I loved big cities as I was younger, but as I get older, I like the quiet.
Yeah.
You know, and being from California, that's kind of hard to find.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, hot and humid out there yet?
Yes, it is. It's only 76 today, but we have that southern humidity down here, and it's 76, but it feels like it's about 95.
Oh, okay. I thought, well, it's better than 195, I guess.
Yeah, I guess
I'm not a humidity kind of guy, so I would probably just stay indoors all summer.
Last year, I visited the South, and as we're on our way back from Ohio to Florida, we stopped a night in South Carolina where they're going through a heat wave where it was 105 degrees and over 100 degrees humidity. And we get out of our rental, and I'm like, whoa.
It slaps you in the face. That's the best way I could describe it. It just, you walk out of an air-conditioned building or something like that, and it just slaps you in the face.
So we're staying at a motel, and I go, honey, let's go to the pool. We get in the pool, it's like bathwater. You know, it felt good though a little bit, but man.
And then you went inside and took a cold shower. Took a cold bath.
Oh man.
And sometimes we get a little spoiled out, on the West Coast with stuff like that. We don't experience too much humidity and all that. So
just craziness.
Yeah, a lot of lunacy. How do folks out in your part of the woods, neck of the woods there, view Californians?
Well,
it's okay to be honest.
We definitely have a view of Californians here. I don't have it as much as I used to. In fact, the gentleman I was telling you guys about that I help, and I play in his band and help run sound for him when he plays, he's actually from California. They moved here early 2000s, I want to say, kind of when things got really crazy out in California and got ridiculously priced and stuff. They moved out here. I think he said he's been out here about 17 years. And he's definitely, him and his family have definitely changed my mind on Californians a little bit, because he's been one of my best friends. They're still crazy to some degree. No offense, good kind of crazy sometimes, but I think you can definitely get the good and bad. But yeah, some people don't like them. I've got several California friends that have lived here and grown up here and got to kind of experience some stuff through them and from their stories and stuff. So yeah, it varies.
I mean, everybody should visit. It's a great state as far as, things to do, and it's scenic and all that. But it's a nice place to visit, but you don't want to live here, sort of thing.
Now, being there 17 years, has he developed the accent, the Southern accent?
It's funny. adaptation, as I like to call it, to the southwestern part of Virginia. He went from being like, that SoCal kind of skater boy kind of, his dad went to school with James Hetfield and Metallica. It's one of my favorite stories about them. I think he was a
Wow.
little bit younger than James, but went to school with him, and they went to all kinds of Iron Maiden shows and everything out there. So he went from that when he first got here to he started hanging around, the real country woods kind of people and farms and all that, and he got into where he's wearing a lot of the stuff that the what we around here call rednecks. I have an accent, but I'm not one of those people. I grew up in the woods, but I didn't grow up on a farm by any means. But he went through a phase where he was wearing like the fancy country pants and boots and shirts, and he'll still wear like Ariat shirts and stuff, but he used to wear like the long sleeve button ups. And I was like, dude, I was like, you're from California, but you look like you've been here longer than me at this point. It's funny, but
Well, we're kind of like chameleons. We'll adapt. We'll
yeah,
fit, you know.
yeah.
Well, some of us will. Some are just doomed to be Californians for life. But I saw a video on YouTube of a thing called the Redneck Rave out in Kentucky, and that thing looks like so much fun. I texted Patrick from 3 Days Under because he's out in Kentucky, and
Yeah.
I said, "Have you ever heard of this? I want to go." It's just a bunch of rednecks hanging out in the mud and camping and mud bogging and stuff.
Yep.
And I'm probably a little too city for it, but I would definitely camp and hang out. That's for sure. And
Yeah.
enjoy the sights. And here's the thing that people don't realize, especially some of these. Well, I don't want to limit it to California. I just call it like, metro type people, city folk. Is rednecks are just cool people.
Yeah.
They're very accepting. They just want to have fun, and if you're just out there to have fun, and you could be accepting of all, and leave your drama at the door, I think you'd be pretty well accepted. Am I right?
Yeah, for the most part. Especially since, back in high school, we all kind of had our cliques. And it's funny because I feel like if you're not from here and you hear even me, like my accent is nowhere near as thick as most people around here. It's very dialed down from a lot of my neighbors and stuff. But growing up, people that are not from here, they look at all of us and they're like, oh, they sound like rednecks. But you come here and there's different cliques even here. And back in high school, redneck was kind of, I don't want to say a dirty word, but unless you were one, you didn't exactly want to be associated with one. But growing up, you get past all that and you're like, we're all just trying to make it out here and just
I think we need to fly the flag for rednecks.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
getting a bad rap. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Seriously, and I'm not even joking here. I am a little bit, but seriously, I think rednecks get a bad rap, especially from like Californians just have this predetermined notion of what a place is like that they've never been to and never met anybody from.
Yeah.
And it's everything they see on TV and the internet.
Well, we have a small town near us, so me and Dave gone to. They have a concert venue in the middle of this small town of Wheatland, which is about 4,000 people. So on concert night, their population triples.
Yeah.
But they host a lot of, we went and saw Kid Rock there. They host some country. We've seen, oh my gosh, what's the last band we saw there?
Well, I don't
Nickelback.
Nickelback.
And
Yeah.
I tell you what. It's just a bunch of rednecks.
Yeah, the redneck concerts are fun.
Yeah, and people who love America, having a blast. You every once in a while someone's had too much or whatever, but again, everybody's just having a blast at the show.
I went to I took my son to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers a couple of weeks ago in Wheatland, and it definitely is a different crowd than the Leonard Skinner ZZ Top show that I had seen a year prior. And what I'm getting at is just like Aaron was saying, is it's full of rednecks and everybody's just there to have a good time. Nobody's judging anybody. Nobody cares about the color of your skin. Nobody cares about the color of your hair or any of that stuff. And the Red Hot Chili Pepper crowd was, it was fine and all, but there you could definitely feel the judgmental tension there, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Hey, go ahead.
All right. Well, I was just gonna jump into this here. You started out as a bass player in a church. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Yeah, so you know that, and that's definitely what you got to make your bio so long. So I kind of have compacted it. I actually started out, man, probably middle school. I got my first bass and did not learn how to play it for a couple of years. I actually, when I started, I was trying to with my buddies, was trying to join a band so we could get girls, so we could get girlfriends.
It's the only reason to join a band, though, isn't it? I mean, when you're a teenager.
Just honesty pours out of Trey.
It didn't work out whatsoever. That, like I said, that's when I was probably like, I don't know, 12 or 13. And then got to be a junior in high school. And I even at this point, I was in and out of church quite a bit, but I started going to a youth group with a buddy of mine and had been going there pretty regularly. And the youth pastor decided he was going to put together a youth worship band. And, he's going around the room. Well, who can play guitar? Who can play drums? Who can do this? And he got to bass. Who here can play bass? And my hand shot up and I went, oh crap, I can't play bass. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, hey, I have a bass, but I can't play a bass. I've been trying for several years. And he's like, that's fine. Bring it to practice. We'll get you sorted out. By the time I left that practice, I had learned 3 songs. And
awesome.
at that point, I was like, I guess I just had to find the right, thing. It was kind of a God thing for me in that sense, that I was like, God kind of just, it was the right time for God to be like, we're going to make it make sense in your head at this point. So
yeah, it's like, hey, Trey, grab this bass now. You're going to need it later.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And then you just graduated into guitars, or how did that come about?
So it's always went kind of back and forth. I've always loved guitar. I got my first guitar, probably my first electric guitar, when I was probably 16 for my 16th birthday. And I got a Dean Dimeflage. It was on the low end Dimebag Darrell urban camo, but it's like the urban camo is done with like his silhouette as like the black.
Oh, that's cool.
I still have it. It's in the closet. I don't like to keep it out. I kind of try to keep it up because it's a little bit more fragile. It was never like the best quality or anything. But I always loved guitar. It didn't always click as much as the bass. And even to this day, when I'm telling people kind of the juxtaposition about it, bass, I've been playing bass in front of people for 17 years at this point. I mean, it's been a long time. So bass, I can go in front of a crowd and play like it's nothing. If I mess up a little bit, I can recover real easy. Guitar has always been a little bit more vulnerable for me. It's always been something that I've picked up to kind of make it through hard times, I guess is the best way to put it. When I've, been in some hard situations and just going through a lot of bad stuff in my life, I'd pick up an electric guitar that was tuned down to drop D or drop C and would just start kind of playing. So it's always been a back and forth. In fact, it's kind of funny that I'm getting known as a guitar player these days and got the guitar endorsement and stuff. But I've been a bass player longer. Around my area, I'm known as a bass player more than a guitar player. People, they'll be like, "Oh, you play bass in this band and this band," and I play. How many bands do I play bass for now? I have a Christian band that's been together since 2013, so like 11 years. I think we just hit our 11-year anniversary of being together. Me and my wife are worship leaders at our church where I play bass. My buddy's got his country band, and I play bass for him and help him out when I can. It's a good little way to make some extra side money, and I do all the bass in my solo stuff as well. In fact, the only place I really play guitar is my solo music. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, you got a great guitar sound. I can't describe it except it's got a good chug to it. You like the chug guitars, don't you?
Yeah.
You like chugging on them.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of influences there. I did an interview with somebody here a while back, and he told me that he listened to the EP and he was like I'm getting a big Steve Vai and what's his name, Joe
Perry.
No, not Joe Perry. Oh, somebody's gonna laugh at me in the comments. Is it I want to say Patriani, but I feel like that's wrong.
Oh, Joe Satriani.
Satriani, sorry. I have terrible ADHD and I feel like I'm dyslexic in my head sometimes.
All
But
good.
yeah, he told me he got kind of some like vibes like that. And I was like, that's really funny because I've always known of Steve I and I've always known of Joe, but I didn't grow up listening to them as much. Not like it's dedicated. I grew up listening to like several of my favorite guitarists is Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's one of my favorite guitarists of all time.
Stevie Ray
Jimi
Vaughan's
Hendrix.
awesome.
Who else? As far as like the harder music, that's in like the blues and rock. I like Jason Richardson. He does a lot of like instrumental stuff. He's kind of one of those guys that kind of got me into like instrumental stuff. And there's a couple of guys, but and just certain bands like Christian bands, especially Pillar, For Today, Skillet. That's a lot of the stuff I grew up listening to. Disciple.
You're naming off some great Christian bands there.
Listen, Pillar, you can't see it, but back here, up above the For Today posters right here, and this is that's the what is it, the City Rocker or whatever it is, the like Seventh Day Slumber and all them. They came pretty close to my town a couple of years ago, and I got that and got it signed. But up above those, I've got the Pillar, I got the Pillar like package that they released when they kind of right before they came out with the reunion tour stuff that had like the record, the CD, and the poster. So I've got the poster framed up here, and me and my wife we're going to Ohio next month for the Alive Festival, and it'll be the first time I've ever seen Pillar. I've seen Disciple once before. They were with Seventh Day Slumber and the Protest and all them when they came close. And I've seen Skillet probably the most, but Pillar's they're not just one of my favorite Christian bands, they're one of my favorite bands of all time. And I've never seen them live. And Noah Henson, I love him on guitar. So I get to see them next month. I went ahead and got the VIP tickets so I could go ahead and meet them because I'm like, I may never get another chance, man. So, but yeah, a lot of guys, a lot of sounds like that. I feel like sometimes I give off a heavier sound than I actually grew up listening to. I do listen to the heavier stuff like For Today. Like I said, they're one of my favorite bands that I've ever seen live too. But my sound goes back and forth, and a lot of the influences I have, go all back and forth. But
we had what was the guy's name from Pillar that we had on? I can't remember his name. Trey. I have the worst time with names. I instantly forget names, and I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't on your shirt, I'd instantly forget yours.
I'm trying to do a little promo because this is my new shirt, and nobody but me has bought one yet. And I'm hoping if I wear it around a little bit, people might be like, "Hey, you got a shirt." So.
I'm not even lying. I dig that shirt.
Thank you.
But we had the dude from Pillar on, and what a cool guy, Michael
Kale.
Yeah,
Michael Whitney, his nickname is Kale. So
so the bass player.
It was like hanging out with the dude. It wasn't, he was
in his backyard.
Yeah,
and he just had
it's just like
ask people for interviews. It's just so we're going to be interviewing you, but most of our time is just like sitting around. We were like earlier, we were having a redneck conversation.
Yeah,
it's how we like to do it, and it was very cool. You're going to really enjoy meeting Michael.
Yeah, he's awesome. And a Disciple, I'm right there with you. That's one of my favorite Christian bands, especially live. I don't listen to their albums so much as I like watch them live on YouTube or something like that, because they're such a band to watch live.
Oh yeah.
They're awesome. Yeah. And I know they've got revolving members with the exception of Kevin, but how many different incarnations have we seen of Disciple? Probably 2 or 3 at least, right?
Yes.
So he keeps getting better and better each time around. So
and I was surprised. I don't think I really knew how long they'd been together or how old Kevin was until like I went and seen them, and he was like, "Yeah, I've been doing this for 25 years," and I was like, I was surprised that it was that long, and then I looked him up and seen he was like in his 50s, and I'm like, this dude does not look like he's in his 50s.
No, and the way he puts on a show, I'm 52, and I'd be, first 30 seconds in, I'd be like, okay, guys, you got to take a break.
Yeah.
The last time we saw them, they performed, great show, and he's like, hey, we're gonna have to cut this now. It was like 11 o'clock at night at this festival.
Well,
because I gotta drive.
had done like 20 minutes of talk and 3 songs, and then on came Disciple.
Yeah, it played a bunch of songs, and then he's like, hey, this is our last song because we gotta load up. And I gotta drive. Kevin says I gotta drive the bus because they're like headed like 8 hours somewhere else to do a show the next day.
Yeah. Definitely a hardworking guy for sure. Now, by the way, if you do see Kevin at this show, that you drop our names. That's my little thing. Is tell him Aaron and Dave from Rock Salt said hi, because my whole thing is I just want to get him to the point where he's like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Why do they keep bugging me?
We'll do. Yeah.
But yeah, and definitely tell Kale we said hello as well.
Yeah.
You're gonna love that show. I'm very envious. I love Disciple. I've never seen Pillar, but and they don't come out this way, and not a lot of Christian acts do because it's just too expensive to do it.
I messaged because Aaron Michaels just opened for them last week, and I was messaged beforehand. I was like, hey, are you excited for this? And he even messaged me. He was like, I don't get nervous. He goes, but I'm a little nervous for this. He's like, I'm so excited. He's like, but even I'm a little nervous. And I was like, man, I told him, I was like, I would have loved to come out to that one, because I'd have loved to come out and support him and see him. But that is, where it was at. I think I looked it up. If I was to drive there, it would take me like more than a whole day to drive there. And cost however much to fly there. But Ohio, where they're playing in Ohio, is only like 6 hours from the house. So
awesome.
It's like so much closer, man.
This is why I get messed up with the geography out there, because number one, like I saw a video on Instagram which was, hey, they say like Virginia's in the South, but it's actually over here, and they call this the Midwest, but it's south of that. So I get confused with that, but also the states are much smaller out there. So when you say Ohio and Virginia, I look at that like driving from, California to Colorado, which is like 24 hours to drive.
But on a trip back east, we stayed the night in 6 different states, but we drove through like 3 or 4 others.
So
I was part of the Christian band that I'm in. We're not as active anymore, but we used to do a lot with our local Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's actually kind of how we got our start. We were supposed to be kind of like a throw together band for a Fellowship of Christian Athletes that was going to be kind of local. They would do like two retreats a year. They would do one here in Virginia, and then they would do one up in Ohio. The guy who's over the FCA down here, he went to college in Ohio or something, and he got mixed in with people up there, and had these strong bonds. And I mean, he went up there, took kids from Virginia up there for like 20 some years. I know the guys that are in the band with me, they went up there when they were in like high school back in the day. That makes it sound like we're really, really old. I graduated in 2010, but still, these guys.
We are really, really old. I graduated in 1989.
But they would go even back then, and I had the opportunity to go back then, but I never got a chance to go. Couldn't afford to go, and we would go up to, it's like Logan, Ohio, and it was the first time I'd ever really been to Ohio, and I was like, man, isn't Ohio like a really long way away? And they're like, no, we'll be in Logan in 4 hours. And I'm like, what? We can make it to Ohio? And it blew my mind. My dad's a truck driver, and I still didn't understand that I could make it to parts of Ohio in 4 hours. Like, it blew my mind. And I was like, that's awesome. Let's go.
Yeah. See, and like I'm saying, if I wanted to go to, say, Washington, That's a long drive. That's a
Right.
17, 18-hour drive, but it's only 2 states away. And I live in Northern California. So it's not even, I mean, what is it? Like 2.5, 3 hours just to get to the northern border of California from where we are.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah. A little longer than that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Trey, what's the name of that band you gets a plug, that band you played for years?
It's called All Came as One. Like I said, we still
Okay.
All Came as One. We still play together. We're nowhere near as involved as we used to be. Everybody's now in their 30s and everybody's married. Two of us have kids. So we end up still playing probably about 3 or so times a year. Love when we get together. We're actually so that band's not playing tomorrow, but the festival I was telling you guys about that we have here in town, and it's our county's big draw. We pull in thousands of people that come from all over the place to this festival, and a couple of the members there, the church that they go to, got asked to play tomorrow for like the Sunday worship segment of it. So their worship band is playing at Chautauqua, and they asked me. So it's literally, of all the members of their worship band, I think one of us that's in All Came as One won't be there, and then a couple of members of their actual worship band will be there. But we're playing here in town tomorrow. So yeah, I told you guys that I twice today had the interview with you guys. I have to play kind of at church tomorrow. We're doing like a Father's Day thing down at a lake near here, but we'll still bring acoustics and play a little bit of music, and then I'll leave straight from there to go play at Chautauqua. So I'll end up playing 4 or 5 times this weekend, and none of them are in my solo stuff.
Now, this county fair, is it a fair in the area? Or
it's a festival. It's actually called it's called Chautauqua. And it looks completely different than the way that I'm saying it. That's just how we pronounce it. But it's
I was gonna say you're gonna have to be careful with that one.
Yeah. It looks like Chautauqua is what it looks like. It's a Native American word, but it's a balloon festival, which is really like a hot air balloon festival, which is really weird. I was telling somebody yesterday, I didn't realize this festival had anything to do with hot air balloons until I married my wife, and her family were like, "Oh, we're gonna go see the balloon glow on Friday night." And I would go with them. I'd be like, I didn't even know this is the thing. It's not like you can hop on a hot air balloon any time of the year in where we live. Like, it's just this one time a year, randomly hot air balloons they'll do a glow on Friday night and take off on Saturday morning. So they took off.
That's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
They do a balloon race out in Reno, which is a couple hours from where we are, and they do a what is it, dawn patrol or whatever, that's where they do their glow. It's first thing in the morning. So I can tell you, I've never seen it, having lived there for 20 years. I've never been to dawn patrol because I just won't wake up that early to go look at balloons. But it's really cool when you're driving to work and you see all these balloons in the sky, and it's like, oh, it's balloon season again. No, it's a cool sight to see for sure.
I want to do that one day.
Dawn patrol?
No, you get a hot air balloon.
Oh, but go up in one?
Yeah, but my wife is like, no.
Yeah, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing. Well, I'm not your wife, but I ain't doing it either.
I would have done it when I was younger, but now I don't know that I would, and I'm sure those things have a weight restriction, and I'm a big fellow, so I don't think they would let me go. So.
Hey, you're in good company. We're all big fellows. My thing is, the older I get, the less I like to go outside of my house. So jumping on a balloon really isn't my thing.
Yeah.
I don't like planes either. So now we're gonna do a song here in a second, but you're signed. You have a sponsor, right? Guitar.
So I actually have 3 endorsements currently. The guitar that's sitting beside me right here is
a fine looking guitar, let me tell you.
Thank you, sir. It's actually if I pull it up, the logo on my shirt. So when I got the announcement that I was getting endorsed by this company, when they hit me back and were like, we'd like to, I'm actually endorsed for guitar and bass, both, but the basses don't exist yet. They're still being made. And I'm pretty sure I'll be the first bass player endorsed by this company. But when I found out I was getting the endorsement, I decided I wanted to do my logo like this and kind of have it be like, because one of the Resurrection Records logos has red in it too. And I was like, I want to do like a cool, like styled logo for the endorsement and the record deal. So I had these custom decals made and put here
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
matches my shirt. And I've got up here, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got my monogram logo up here as well.
Oh,
So
awesome.
yeah, it's
Are they doing any kind of signature basses or guitars for you, or is it the endorsement so far?
just the endorsement. I don't know that I'm ready, or I'm not really at a point that I want to design a guitar.
All right.
I'm okay with not, I've always wanted a guitar endorsement, so the fact that I got that, I'm happy. I'm cool.
The recognition is nice,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
It really is. Let's throw in a song here.
Yeah.
What did you have lined up, Aaron? Anything for music?
Yeah, The Journey.
You're gonna do The Journey?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. It's Trey, Tate, and The Journey on Rock Salt. Rock Salt MUZKAST Experience. Trey, Tate, all the way from well, I'm just gonna say Virginia because I'm not gonna say it right. What's called Whiteville?
Withville, Virginia.
Withville. Yeah, see, I totally messed it up. I said Whiteville.
We can just say Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sacramento.
Yeah.
You get to the south and you got all these different names.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I can't even say the region without most people getting that wrong too. I have to say it very clearly so people don't think I'm from West Virginia, because the region I'm from is Southwestern Virginia. So it's Virginia, not West Virginia, but it's the southwestern region of Virginia.
oh yeah. See, I'm totally lost, dude. I'd need a GPS out there for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, so that was The Journey, and I dig that. And you know what I dig the most about that song is that little dip at the very beginning. And what do you say in that little dip before you kick into the guitars?
Oh, so that's not me. I actually I found these sound bites, and I think I found them in my recording software. I use GarageBand because I'm very much I'm completely DIY artist. I'm a solo studio artist, so everything up until this point it's either been done by me or it's been touched by me in some way. I haven't released anything through Resurrection yet, so I've not been able to do anything there. But I was using GarageBand, and I really wanted something to start the song off with, like right there in the break or something. And I went back and forth between a few different things, and I've kind of got the like lo-fi guitar that starts, and then it has the little the two guys that say something back and forth. Before that, it was actually the Rocky monologue from Rocky Balboa, where it talks about, you never know how hard life hits, and you got to get back up and fight to win and all that. And I decided not to do that. It was too long and a little too crazy. So I wanted something just to have in there. And I went in the sound library on GarageBand, and I found these two little like sound bites that kind of went together. And it's like astronaut NASA kind of thing. It's like what does it say? It says something about go for launch, and then the next part says Roger, go for launch, or something like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I thought that was really cool to go from that like lo-fi guitar that kind of sounds kind of crappy, but it sounds kind of crappy on purpose. And it's like,
yeah, no, I dig it. Because I
wanted something to be like, boom, it's about to hit.
When I first turned it on, I had to turn it up, and I was like, why do I have to have this thing full blast just to hear the guitar? I hope this isn't, man, I hope he's got better new stuff than that. And then it gives you that little dip, and then it comes in hard with the guitar, which, was already full blast. So I had to turn it back down. But
I imagine a lot of people did that. And I would say I'm sorry, but I think it's hilarious. It was kind of,
no, I think it's awesome. Because, as a kid, I was growing up in the 70s, and I'm probably, there's a couple of songs, but, I'll pick like Firehouse from Kiss, and I would hear Firehouse from Kiss and the sirens in it. Yeah. I always loved like something like that at the beginning, sirens or a little movie clip, or I don't know. It just kind of captured my attention and gave it a feel. Yep. So nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah. I dig it. And so now, do you ever go from like, doing a show on a Saturday like you're going to do today, and then you go into worship tomorrow, and you kind of still in rock mode. I mean, do you ever want to just like kick the amp over on stage at church or something like that? Just kind of, liven it up a little. I'm not much of a worship, music kind of guy.
I wasn't. I was never big into worship. Like I said, like I kind of hinted at, the life I lived, back when I was a teenager, just some of the things that I had to go through, going through, at times extreme poverty and a lot of family issues and whatnot. I don't want to say I grew up an angry kid, but if it wasn't for music and if it wasn't for loud, angry music, I probably would have grew up an angry kid. And for me, like that was something I struggled with in my band All Came as One, because we were a big mashup between, we would and still very firmly believe in doing, like, we would start out with like your real, it's kind of like praise and worship, right? It's the idea behind praise and worship. Praise is kind of loud. It's more kind of bombastic, some people, and then you get into the worship and it kind of, your praise kind of gets that energy out there, kind of gets, I don't want to say the mood. It's not so much a mood, but it gets you kind of pumped up and moving. And then when you move into worship, you're kind of ready to be there. And that's how we always did it. We would play Christian rock, and we have you can look up a song by the band. It's called Light the Fire. And it's one of the songs that we went and recorded in like 2016. We went out to Nashville and actually recorded with the guitar player from the Neverclaim, which I don't know that they're as active as they used to be, but we went out to like, it's like a little suburb of Nashville, and it's called, oh gosh, what is it? It's, I don't remember now, but it's like a little suburb of Nashville, right outside of Nashville. And we went and recorded it in his apartment. But it's like a rock, it's like a Christian rock song. It would actually fit in on a lot of the radio stations that we do and stuff. And we would go from that, and then we would go into like just real intimate worship. So for me, it took me a while to get to where I understood the balance and the need for both, right? So for me, especially like the music I'm playing today, I'm gonna be honest, the band I play in for my buddy, when I'm playing and helping him out to make, some extra money and just to help him out, it's a country band. It's not Christian whatsoever. So I go from playing in bars and playing music that I don't really necessarily love anyway. I'm not really a country music fan, just to be honest. It's something that was kind of tried to shove down my throat the whole time I've lived here. And I always grew up rock and metal, but it being country, it being secular, those are things that kind of, they wear and tear on me a little bit. So by the time I get to Sunday morning worship, I'm kind of relieved, because I kind of get away from the work aspect of it. Saturday nights when I'm playing with him and stuff, it's work in a lot of ways. I'm there to help my buddy out, make some extra cash, go home to my wife. And that honestly wears on me. So when I get to church on Sunday mornings and get to play praise and worship, I've kind of got that out of my system. Even when we go play, when I play with All Came as One, or, whatever it is I do, by the time I get to worship music on Sunday, for me, it's a different atmosphere. I just kind of get to be a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more quiet. So
it's a refuge.
Do what?
Like a refuge.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just,
let's have a real discussion here about music and worship music.
Right.
Because this is, me personally, like I just said it, and Aaron, help me out here, but I hope I'm not being like blasphemous or anything like that when I go, I'm not into the worship music. I always, when I went to church, singing the hymns and everything was just kind of like, it's almost like for me, it was like almost like the rituals of Catholicism. It was just something I had to do. I never really cared for it. I get it. I get the songs. I get all that. But it was just never my thing, and it still isn't my thing. And this is where I'm looking to you, Aaron, because you're the Bible scholar guy. But
the thing is, though, is when we grew up, when we were Trey's age, it was turn to the hymnal, page 67.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, I gotta read.
Yeah.
I don't like to read.
It was just never my thing.
Yeah.
And
but now it's the words are on the screen. I like art.
Do you?
Our pastor, because
maybe I'm the odd man out here.
It got to be somewhat in church. we're turning to page 67 every week.
Yeah.
And Trey, you do worship, and I'm sure you're just like, not this song again. Can we, can we move on to something else? And I like our worship pastor at the church I attend, New Life Community Church here in Fair Oaks. Because he mixes it up. We're always learning a new song.
And
but
here's the interesting thing is his pastor now was my youth pastor when I was a teenager.
Yeah. But again, our worship leader mixes it up, and I love it. It's not that I don't like to sing, Awesome God or something else every Sunday, but I like, when there's a change.
Well, I guess I don't mean to cut you off. I want to bring you in because I want your thoughts. But the thing that popped into my head, and this is where I was saying, help me out because you're Bible scholar guy. Wasn't David all about make a joyful noise? And I mean, he wasn't all about the hymns and everything, was he?
No, you're right. Make a joyful noise.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm getting at is you're not. For anybody that's like, Christian music, it doesn't have to be, the hymns and psalms, right?
I just hope when I get to heaven, thank God there's no organ. We got Trey's guitars. We got, who's the Rush drummer?
Oh, Neil Peart.
No, we got him on, we got the drum kit. Our let's just keep it Christian. Robert Sweet's drum kit up there. And we're we got John Slitz leading vocals.
Okay, well that one's all you, bro.
Our Kevin Young from Disciples. Leading worship. Something like that.
Well, I mean, what's your feeling on it, Trey?
For me, and to be honest, Dave, I'll say it this way. When I'm in my day-to-day in the week, I'm not going to tell you I listen to praise and worship all day. It's if I get in my car, I'm either listening. Now I won't even say I listen to all. I'm very honest about that. I'm not a person that thinks that I have to listen to Christian music all day every day. Now, in my time as being a Christian, I have found it to be. I have replaced a lot, and I've tried to make it to where I primarily listen to Christian music. I make it a point to listen to Christian music and music that has a message. Now that music can range from Christian rap, Christian rock, Christian metal, anywhere and all in between. And I don't listen to a lot of praise and worship, but like I was saying earlier, I think there's a time for it. And for me personally, as somebody who I don't do great with quiet, so I think for me, and not to say that the worship music replaces the quiet time, but there's sometimes, especially in a busy week and in my head, where quiet and dark is, like I tell my wife, dark and quiet is something that scares me. I don't like to stop moving, and I don't like to not have music going. If I start being in silence too long, I get in my head real bad. But for me, worship music is something that kind of allows me to kind of de-escalate into a more quiet atmosphere, to be in that. That's, like I said, there's a time for all of it, I believe. And that's one thing I have noticed since getting into more of this circuit, is that there is a lot of there's definitely a lot of feelings and some hard feelings towards like the CCM side. And coming from that a little bit, I understand it. I definitely get it and see some of the points, and there's things that I'm not taking up for whatsoever. However, I do think that there's still a lot of good CCM out there. I think there's a lot of some good CCM artists that are, trying to do what God has them do. And some people, that's what they like. Me, I grew up listening to Metallica. I grew up listening to Pantera, Aerosmith, Rush, all these bands. So I remember very specifically when me and my parents decided, okay, we're really going to start going to church. We're going to change up kind of what we're listening to be, more Christian-led music. And me and my father went into a Christian bookstore. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the big three that we were talking about of Christian rock. And I picked up Skillet's Comatose album. And it has like the mannequin body, and it's got like the snake. and it just says Skillet. And I was like, okay, this looks like something that could be cool. Knew nothing about them, had no idea who Skillet was, never heard a song by him or anything. We took it up to the counter, and I remember the lady, she looked at my father and she was like, "Are you guys sure you want this? It's kind of hard." And she was trying to imply that it was hard music, like hard rock. Me and my father turned to each other and said, "Yes, please, we will take that." And we took it, put it in the car, man, and that was a big moment for me. Now, I don't love Skillet quite as much as I do Pillar and Disciple, but they're still in that section there. But yeah, man, when I found music like that, it was like, okay, I can still listen to the sounds that I like, but I have found places and people that are singing about God and singing about Jesus. So it's not as much the musical genre as it is the lyrical content. And I think that's the, very important thing. So,
well, I guess the best way I can describe it for me is the closest I want to, or I don't want to say I want to get into, but I'm into like praise and worship music would probably be like Amy Grant's Straight Ahead album.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you like Crowder too.
I like Crowder.
He's got some worship stuff.
Yeah, he's got some. Well, I like Crowder for his rock type songs. Like Run Devil Run is one of my favorite songs. And when you see him live, there's like 20 people on stage and random stuffed animals. And when I mean stuffed, I mean they were live at one point, but now they're stuffed. And it goes back to that, for lack of a better comparison, that Stevie Ray Vaughan type thing. I know that I'm comparing apples and oranges when you compare Crowder to Stevie Ray, but there's a certain vibe on the stage, and I dig that Southern rock vibe.
Yeah.
And Crowder brings that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I'm digging talking music with you. I know we don't have a whole lot more time. Are we going to get another song in here? Can we maybe put the song in at the end?
Yeah. So at the end.
All right. Yeah. We'll do that.
Like I said, we can go a little bit over. I've got a few more minutes. We're
all right.
Okay.
Make sure you ring the bell when when the dinner's done.
Yeah, we'll do. Probably about 45 in, maybe 50, 10, 15 minutes towards the next hour. Something like that. Should be good. Yeah,
all right. Okay. So so now as far as music goes, I'm huge into music. And two things in my life now are music and politics. That's it. But growing up, my mom did not allow me to listen to any kind of secular music.
Right.
But as a little kid, my brothers were listening to the stuff in the 70s because we grew up in the 70s. So it was a lot of Queen, Lynyrd Skynyrd. Kiss was not allowed. My brothers would not allow Kiss.
Led Zeppelin?
No, they weren't big Led Zeppelin fans. They were more into the Southern rock, like Molly Hatchet and 38 Special and stuff like that. So they were more, I guess, grassroots as far as rock goes. You know what I mean? So through the 80s, I didn't listen to a lot of rock music that wasn't Christian. Petra was my big band, and Steve Taylor and Amy Grant. And I mean, if you wanted to get really hard, you put in, Striper's Black and Yellow and Black Attack. It's like, oh, he's gone over the edge now. But also at the same time, and I'm kind of getting to what you were saying earlier, which is, as long as you're paying attention, I'm not advocating for anything or telling anybody they're wrong for this is just how I feel about it. If you're paying attention to the message that's being given, a lot of the times you cut yourself off from a lot of different viewpoints, as well as I've met some secular artists that are absolutely great people.
Yeah.
They're just not making Christian music. And one of the ones that pops into my head is like Less Than Jake. When we used to play music on the show, we played their song all the Metalheads, something like that. Anyways, it's just a song about being cool with each other. It's a good message. It's not a Christian song, but it absolutely could be. I don't see why it couldn't be. I mean, if you were a ska band and you could easily make that into a Christian song without changing a single lyric. So
it's like I was talking to somebody the other day. One of my favorite secular bands is Killswitch Engage, and I don't know every song, and I don't know. I'm sure there's things in their lyrics that I'm not going to agree with down the line at some point. But if you listen to a lot of Killswitch Engage, especially like their really popular set list, there's a lot of really positive. They talk about serious situations and stuff, but there's a lot of positivity in it, and it's stuff that's like, it's not. I don't listen to anything that, if I think remotely it's talking bad about God, I'm not listening to it. But if it's talking about like a situation or something, and it's positive, and it's not like something that's going to send me down into like depression, because I used to deal with depression when I was a kid, so I don't want to listen to something that's going to be that, but it can talk about the things I went through in depression, as long as it's got a positive spin. I think that's an important thing. What I don't want to hear when I'm listening to secular music, things that are very important to me to stay away from. I don't want to hear a big bunch of cussing, and especially when it's stuff that's like just nasty and vulgar to be nasty and vulgar. I'm not going to say I don't listen to any music that has cussing in it, but it's not a lot of it, and it's not just vulgar, nasty stuff. I don't listen to a lot of that. I don't listen to anything that's blasphemous or anything like that. If I'm listening to secular, it's gotta have something. It's gotta have something to it. It's gotta have some kind of fruit to bear. Not Christian fruit, but it's gotta have something that makes me, reminds me of something I've been through, or something to that degree.
It's got to bring you a feeling or an emotion. Now you like you brought up Joe Satriani earlier. If you got like Surfing with the Alien, which is a great album, it's, if I remember correctly, it's all instrumental, because Joe Satriani's not a singer, he's a guitar player.
Right.
And it's fantastic if you go listen to it. And I promise you, if you haven't listened to it, I'm sure once you play it, you go, oh, I've heard that song before.
Yeah.
And even Steve Vai that you mentioned. I don't know the dude personally. I don't even know what he's about, because he really doesn't talk much about personal life or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you go watch that movie Crossroads with Ralph Macchio, and that's all Steve Vai playing. He's playing the Ralph Macchio parts and his parts where he plays the devil. And
I didn't know that. I did not know that. So I hadn't seen that movie up until a couple of months ago, and I found it somewhere and I bought it. I've always seen the scene of him versus Ralph at the end, but I'd never seen the whole movie. I bought it just so I could watch it. But yeah,
it's a great movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good movie.
And he plays the devil so well because he's got that look and the whole thing. And essentially it's the devil went down to Georgia instead of fiddles or playing guitars.
Blues guitar.
That's the story. Yeah. So I guess what I'm getting at is, as long as it's positive, maybe I'm just throwing the questions out there. I hope I'm not offending anybody. As long as it's positive, maybe we are not being open to the art that's out there for what it is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well,
I don't want to get anybody in trouble here.
Yeah, but no, I think as long as you can handle it. It's like Trey says, I deal with depression, so I don't want to listen to any music that gets me that road. It's sort of like a guy that used to be alcoholic wants to go see this band, but they're in a bar and he's like, you know what? I can't go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as long as you can handle. The other week we saw Skid Row with
Lizzie Hale.
I can go to those shows. It's not going to lead me anywhere. I enjoy music, and that's what it is.
Yeah, that's all it was a fun night out.
That's right. And as long as you can go there, I see people. We've been to Aftershock, which is a huge music festival, and I think some of these people almost worship these bands. I don't.
Yeah.
They put on the pants the same way I do. And you're just talented at
There's only been a couple of bands that I've fanboyed out over.
Yeah.
And one of them was Vector.
And that's not even
seriously.
Yeah, but I mean, that's different though.
Yeah.
You're a fan. You may want the like you're going to see Pillar, you got the VIP. But again, you don't worship Pillar. But I see some of these bands, it's almost like they worship the band, which I think you can find yourself in trouble, especially if you want to be a Christian.
Yeah.
Again, different people, different things, and I respect people. When we went and saw Kid Rock, I knew the language and everything else that was going to be at that show, but some people are going to be for themselves. I don't want to be there. Yeah. You take a band like Skillet, who I think is sold out for Christ, whatever, and they decided we're going to go on tour with
Seven Dust.
No, Seven Dust, but they were also with oh my gosh.
Are you talking about the show we saw?
They sing the song called Angel. They got swearing in their songs. No. This had the song called
Amulet. No, Seven Dust.
No, I'm trying to think of the band. They're a smaller band from Canada. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Theory of a Dead Man.
Theory of a Dead Man. Gotcha. And they got cussing and everything else. But Skilla said, we're going to kind of do a heaven and hell tour. Yeah. And it worked for them.
Yeah.
And there's some people who wouldn't go to that show because they would have to listen to Theory of a Dead Man. Yeah. I went to the show to support Skillet. I do enjoy Theory of a Dead Man.
Right.
But it's on me, my decision.
Yeah. Well, and you're gonna have to be the one that answers to the big man upstairs whether it was the right decision or not. I guess I don't know. It's just I've met a lot of people, and when I meet, I go to a lot of cons to meet celebrities, and I've been backstage to Aftershock and met a lot of bands and stuff like that, and for the I'm going to call them all celebrities just to make it easy. Okay. For the celebrities, when I meet them, if it's a, yeah, here you go. All right. Yeah. I'm a celebrity type of thing. Yeah. I write that off. And I'm like, I don't need to talk to that person again. I may still listen to their music or something like that, but I won't go out of my way to meet that person but the person that I can start asking some questions and really, get to know them on I don't want to say on a personal level, but on a more human level than just fan and artist. Those are the people that I dig talking to, and those are the people I seek out even more. So, like, for example, you mentioned Lizzie Hale. I was backstage at Aftershock, and I met RJ, her brother, who plays drums in Hailstorm. That was when they were up and coming. I had no idea who Hailstorm was, but I met him backstage and we just started hanging out, and he was cool. And he didn't care that I didn't know who he was, because I had no idea who he was. Yeah, I just knew he was the drummer from Hailstorm. And I went, that's pretty cool. All right, cool. And we started hanging out, and it was fun. Those are the people I like meeting. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is when you shut down everything because it's not Christian, you are, I think, snubbing yourself. Yeah. You are not allowing yourself to meet people that might be Christians. Like I just brought up, sent you a text that I had no idea. Russell Brand, it came out as a Christian. It said it like he came out of the closet.
Yes.
It's not like that.
He became a Christian.
Yes. Which I thought was monumental. Seeing as this guy, I mean, go back over the years and see what his thoughts were on religion and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, wow, that is a huge deal. And I've always liked Russell Brand. Had I stopped liking him because of his views on religion, he might, not because of me, but he might have not reached that level or found God because Christians had snubbed him for so long.
Right. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm getting at is just have an open mind, read the lyrics, know what you're listening to. And it's okay if you're into I'm trying to think of some heavy metal band that you know is just maybe August Burns Red. I know they started out as Christian, but they don't claim to be Christian anymore.
No, I mean they just were Christians in a band, and that's it. It's your personal choice.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm getting at Trey is like, some of your music is hardcore.
Yeah.
And if that helps you, bang it out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're a man of many words. Thank you very much.
I can be a man of many words. It's just, but no,
Trey,
I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
Trey, I think it's great that you said you grew up on Metallica and all these other bands. I grew up on Southern gospel music and Christian only, and I remember when I first heard Dougie Fresh and at a friend's house, and I'm like, what is this? And where can I get some more? And then I started listening to the Striper, and my mom, kind of the raised eyebrow look, like, what's this? And again, but she realized that this is what made me tick.
Yeah.
Not the Southern gospel, and I'm glad for bands like Disciple and when you talked about Amy Grant or whatever, because those bands made people tick.
Yeah.
You say you do country music for money. It doesn't make you tick.
Right.
But you said, worship music.
But the bass makes you tick.
That's true. And so as we conclude this, Trey, how
no. You got a couple more minutes, Trey.
Yeah,
because Aaron and I have had this conversation and we just dominated it, and you've sat there and listened to us. So
he's respecting his elders.
I know.
What a nice young man.
In the South, especially, you were taught to let. I'm really bad about interrupting, so I try to not interrupt and get my words. I try to let people finish, and
I'm sure his wife enjoys that.
Sometimes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
But it is out in the South there. It is always yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, man. Right?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
That's how I grew up. Yes, sir.
And that's what I love about the South. I spent some time in Lubbock, Texas, and this was well over 10 years ago. But I spent some time down there, and just going into the mini mart. I don't know what they have out there, but we're just going into the mini mart out there. Hey, honey, how you doing? I loved it. I don't know if she was being genuine or not, but I loved it.
Yep.
Hey, go ahead.
Don't cut him off. He was just about to say something. I'm trying to get it out of him.
But no, I was going to backtrack a little bit, because I was thinking of this as you guys were talking a minute ago, and I was trying to get my words together, and I started to forget them. But just kind of backtracking to what we were talking about there, and you talking about growing up and mostly listening to Southern gospel and stuff like that. One thing that's it's always kind of drove me crazy. I've had friends that, like, in high school and stuff, they weren't really Christians, and then they go from not being a Christian to being a Christian. And they have this mentality, and I feel like it's well intentioned while being kind of misguided in a sense. But they become a Christian, and they think that they have to leave every aspect of their personality in the person that died. When we become a Christian, your old self dies, your new self comes, and you're following Jesus. And they think, oh, that means I can't like basically anything that they ever liked before, and they will force themselves to like nothing but Christian contemporary or hymns or this, that, and the other. And that's something it's always kind of, I want to say this respectfully, because to each their own with that, but that's always kind of irked me. And I'm not even getting into the should a Christian listen to secular or not. I think we've kind of touched on that. I think it's a person by person thing there. It's if secular music is kind of a downward slope for you, maybe not. But in Christian music, there is so much good Christian music that ranges from every genre you can think of. And people want to, and a lot of times it's people who either music didn't mean that much to them growing up anyway, or they're definitely not musicians. But it's always driven me crazy that people who are not music minded, I guess is the best way to put it, they want to put themselves from the get-go in this tiny box. And it's like, hey, I respect that you want to stay in the Christian realm, but you don't have to listen to like two artists the entire time and one genre. And that's something that I've always been like, like I said, Christian alternative genres like Christian. I didn't even know Striper was a thing until like 10 years ago. I didn't know that Christian rock went all the way that far back. Like no joke, when I found Skillet, I really thought the 90s and 2000s was when Christian rock came about. And then as I get older, I found out more, and I found out about Striper and Petra and some of these others, and I'm like, it's these Christian alternative genres, it's not a new thing. It's been around for a while. You literally have so much to pick from that, you know, obviously there's artists that, either they fall out of being Christians, or, we all hear the tales about people just being in Christian music for money. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there's so many genuine Christian artists that have, God's called them to make such, just different and vibrant music. And it's always drove me crazy that, you get this one person that gets kind of radically saved and they just want to live in such a small box with music. It drives me insane.
Yeah, that made me think a couple of things. First of all, Trey, you ready to have your mind blown? Larry Norman and Petra were some of the first Christian rock artists, and they came out in the early 70s.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I learned this later.
Yeah.
I now know this, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that when I was a teenager. I thought Skillet and Pillar and Disciple were some of the first Christian rock bands ever.
But listening to and I think Yellow and Black Attack came out in like 1983, but and it might be the 84. But I mean, that for Christian music, that would have been like listening to Metallica or Anthrax back then.
Right.
I mean, the hardest band was like Res Band. That was about as hard as you can get. And then along comes Striper, and you're like, whoa, what is that? And now, as time rolled on, it was just considered more hard rock. But when that hit the Christian music stores, there was nothing like that.
Right. Yeah.
There really wasn't. And but as you roll on, and there's all these. I took my son out when he was young, and I all I could really teach him about was music. That's all I really knew. And so I'd play him all kinds of music, and he got into rock. Oh, thankfully. He got into rock, but I did tell him, I'm like, don't just limit yourself to rock music, because there's lots of great music out there. Some of it's ska, and some of it's easy listening. Even I'm a Carpenters fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I like psychedelic 60s. I like 50s music. I like 40s music. I like swing music. I mean, it's all over the place now. I primarily listen to rock because that's what speaks to me. But I think that anybody that limits themselves just based on a genre is just doing exactly that, limiting themselves.
Yeah. And to kind of touch on this, which I think you and my father are about the same age. So I'm hearing things like you're saying things, and it sounds like a different person saying what my dad says. But growing up, like I kind of limited myself to. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about with me, like kind of being closed off to like worship music for a while. I was very much kind of rebelled against a lot of like traditional Christian things. Like, I didn't want to go to church wearing a suit and tie. I didn't want to just listen to like Christian worship music. And it wasn't like I was trying to rebel against God, but I like these ideas, I guess. But I was so kind of like locked in my own box, to kind of bring it back full circle to that. I was locked in my own box to where like the only thing I really wanted to listen to was like Christian, or not Christian, but just rock and metal as a whole. And I didn't like, I downplayed like classical music. I downplayed like jazz music. I didn't really do funk. One thing people don't know about me, because, the kind of music that I make, people don't expect me to say, I like funk. Now, I'm not going to be able to sit here and just name off a bunch of funk bands and tunes, but I've heard so many over my lifetime of the popular stuff that like, that's inspired my bass playing a lot. Like, again, it's not like I've sit and listened to a bunch of that, or it's not, I don't have CDs of it and stuff, but stuff that's came on the radio, like, your oldies, or when they do the festivals and stuff, they'll have funk bands, and I'm like, I love this song. Probably couldn't tell you who plays the song or even the name of the song, but I love that song, and it's always kind of inspired me. But he always really harped on me. He was like, kind of that mindset of don't lock yourself in, that you can learn so much from these other genres. Like, I've grown up in my area. There's a town. Well, it's a little small city about 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away, and it's called Hillsville, Virginia. And they have it's like world known for bluegrass. They have like bluegrass competitions down there. And
Wow.
again, growing up, I hated country. I really hated bluegrass. And like, I never wanted, it was so far away from the sound that I like. And even today, even though I have this appreciation for it today, you will never find me playing like bluegrass bass where it's like, bah, bah. Like, I can't stand playing like that. But one thing that my father, like I said, one thing my father really taught me was to find appreciation in different styles of music. And I'm glad he did. I'm glad he got me, because, like I said, you're probably not going to find me listening to classical music in my car. But I definitely have a respect for it now. I see so much of classical like inspiration in metal music itself. Even learning about like the bass player from Metallica, and now that I'm on my brain's talking so fast that
Robert?
Not Robert, the first one that
Cliff.
passed away, Cliff. Yes, Cliff, when he came to Metallica, he had a background in like classical music. I think he was like a classically trained bass player to some degree, or had at least some classical knowledge, and he brought a lot of that to Metallica, and it changed a lot of their sound. And that was one way he demonstrated to me. He was like, "You love Metallica because that Metallica is like the band that me and my father love together, right? It's like that one thing, we'd get in the car and it's just me and him. He's probably putting on Metallica." So, he would tell me certain things about it like that, and he would be
You
like,
have a good father. You have
yeah, I do. I love my father. But he would be like, you don't even realize it. But if it wasn't for classical music, if it wasn't for jazz music, you wouldn't have stuff like this. And as I've gotten older, I've completely, I've seen it. And then I've seen it like in the music itself, just listening to the music, I can hear it now. But even more than that, watching videos and interviews and stuff and hearing these people talk about it, like, I don't know if you guys ever, I'm not a drum player. I can't play drums to save my life, but I watch Drummeo's YouTube channel. Like, I work from home, so I'm not on the phone all day. I'm not facing people all day. I'm on a computer. I do kind of developmental work. I'm a database administrator. So if I'm not in a meeting, then I'm probably working on a database, or doing some kind of developing on the computer. And I've got videos up, and I've got like a monitor up here above these two monitors, and I'll have YouTube up, and I'll have a whole string of videos that kind of get me through the day. And if Drummeo's got one, man, it's up there in the queue. It's ready to go. And there's so many drummers that you'll hear about, and especially in like the Genius of kind of collection that they have. They'll take the main guy will take like samples from the people's drumming, and he'll actually play the parts, and he'll kind of give you the background on it, and he'll tell you like, what you don't realize is this drummer for who was it? Basically any of them, but he'll all the time talk about how these drummers that for like metal and rock and stuff that kind of shaped this sound, with the band, help shape the sound with these bands, these iconic bands. And he'll be like, yeah, their favorite drummer was a jazz drummer. Now he won't say it like that. He'll actually work it in to the narrative of the
like
story.
Buddy Rich or something like that.
Always,
Yeah.
Buddy Rich. And it blew my mind. I was like, it took me back to, like I was saying, my dad's like, don't write off a genre just because it's not your thing. There's probably your favorite musicians are.
You mentioned Stevie Ray Vaughan, and he was a great blues guitar player, kind of rock. I mean, I love his version of Superstition from Stevie Wonder. I mean,
Right.
The fact that he can make his guitar sound like that, it was amazing to me. But he's blues based. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, have you seen the video of Stevie Ray Vaughan when he breaks his guitar string and his brother brings out
on Facebook?
Oh man, Aaron, he's playing guitar on stage and he's all into it and everything. And he breaks a string and he keeps playing because, you know, the show goes on. And without missing a beat, I think it was his brother that brings out the other guitar. He switches guitars and just keeps going. And he did not miss a beat.
He gets to a part, because if you ever watch Stevie, I love that you bring this up because that's one of my favorite videos of like musical performance of all time. That is up there with the video of Iris in Buffalo, New York, with the rain pouring down and them just putting on just a great show. But
Iris?
Not Iris, sorry, Goo Goo Dolls playing Iris. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Told you. My brain, my mouth's trying to talk faster than my brain.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's up there with that video. But anyway, he's playing the guitar part, and then it gets to the part where he sings. And if you ever watch Stevie enough, there's a lot of times he'll play the riffs and then he'll stop singing, let the band kind of do their thing while he sings, and then it's so perfect. He'll finish up the guitar part, he'll start singing, the guy comes up, takes the guitar off of him, never misses a beat, and then goes straight back into it. I'm so glad you brought up that video.
He really was. I mean, one of the best. And you know what I was getting at is if you go back and listen to some of the old, you know, blues music, like the Decca Records era and stuff like that. Like you said, it's not something I throw on in my car, but you know, when I hear one of them, I'll stop and listen because these amazing guitar players that unfortunately didn't get their due, you know, because the record companies and all that just ripped them off. That's a story for another time, but there's just so much out there that I think we need to be open to and receptive to, while at the same time blocking out what the garbage in, garbage out, Aaron. You know, let's keep the garbage out and just keep the good coming in.
When you go to the concert, put your cell phones away.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
Yes,
but I agree with you.
Yeah.
And anytime I see like there's a video of Corey Taylor from Slipknot taking a girl's phone and throwing it or something like that, and I go, you know what? I don't have any issue with that whatsoever.
Now, we did just talk about seeing stuff on YouTube, so someone had to record it,
right?
But I just remember we were seeing Ozzy Osbourne, and who's his guitarist? Zach
Wilde.
Yeah, he's playing the guitar from behind his head, and these people are around us with their cell phones, and I'm like,
he's right in front of you.
Yeah, they're not even recording him. They're on Facebook, and I'm like, this is one of the toughest things to do as a guitarist.
Well, and I mean, you know, if I remember correctly, besides playing the guitar behind his back, he also played it with his teeth, and made his mouth bleed.
Yes, and so I'm like, we're just talking about appreciating music. Appreciate when you're there.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel when somebody is more buried in their phone than what and they're recording you up on stage, but they're not watching you. They're watching you through their phone. How do you feel about that?
I think there's again, I'm all about balances, but I think there's a balance to it. If I go to a show, I'm probably going to take a few photos. I'm probably going to take a video or two. I'm not going to be, if a band's up there for an hour and a half, I'm not spending 45 minutes of that with my phone out. It's going to be like, oh, this is a song I love. I'm capturing this song. Like, this is my favorite song by the artist. Of course, I'm probably going to get at least a snippet of that.
Sure.
Zach Wilde with his guitar behind his head, probably going to capture a little bit of that. But I'm not talking about every song. I'm not taking 1,000 pictures, and I'm definitely not taking 1,000 pictures with the flash on. But and that's coming from somebody that's coming from somebody out in the crowd. As being an artist, there's certain parts that I won't capture. There's times where it's like, man, I hope somebody got that on camera. But at the same time, you don't want to look out and see somebody the entire time with their phone in front of them.
Yeah. I just talking about, they weren't recording Zach Wilder. It seemed like they were on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, or playing a game on their phone or whatever, or taking a selfie, or something like that. And so again, enjoy the show. I mean, I just recently went and saw NF, and the whole bottom floor when he came out had their phones up I don't have a problem with that. It's just that, the guy to the right of us on Facebook and Instagram,
right,
during the show
the entire time.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
watched the show.
I've Facebook during a show, because hey, I'm at the show. Look at this really cool picture I got. But I don't spend the entire time on. And I was at an Aftershock festival where Rob Zombie was playing, and I was up at the front, and there were all these people on their phones, and Rob did something I thought was really, really cool, which was he walked, instead of like crowd surfing, how people crowd surf at a show, he walked across the crowd. And as he, with each step, everybody would reach up to grab his leg, and he'd take another step. And I thought it was a really cool thing to do. But when the song was done, he jumped back on stage and he scolded the crowd. He's like, "Put your phones away. I'm right here. There's millions of videos on me on YouTube. You can watch them anytime you want. I'm right here. And you're going to let me fall because you want a picture of me?"
Yeah.
And he's got a point. I think if I was an artist, I would be okay with the occasional picture up front. But if you're recording the entire show, or you're Facebooking or Instagramming the entire show so you can be get more likes or whatever, you put the phone away. That guy's an artist.
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. That guy's an artist.
But like we've been saying, I think we all kind of agree with this. If you're getting some footage, you're getting some pictures, and you're posting that to your Facebook, sure, go ahead. You're going to probably get somebody else interested and be like, "Hey, that's really cool. I'm sad I missed it. Next time they come in, I want to go see that." However, as an artist, and for me, especially when I'm doing Christian music, I don't care about money whatsoever. It's not about money for me in that sense. The country music, yes, I don't love country music, so when I do it, it's a job. When I'm
take all the pictures you want.
Yeah, when I'm
on your phone the entire time.
When I'm doing Christian music, I don't care as much about the money. But at the same time, it's like, hey, if you're recording the whole thing, like, you're kind of taken away. You might go show somebody, and you're kind of, I don't want to say stealing content, but at a certain point, it's like, okay, you got enough. You got enough there.
Yeah.
You're here, and you're going to take this for free, but, you don't have to record a whole show and then, take it back home or sell it.
I agree. If I'm at a big show, like when we went to see Skid Row, it was kind of a big deal that Lizzie Hale was the lead singer. That they only did 4 shows like that. And so I broke out my phone for the big hits that I wanted. I got Youth Gone Wild and Remember You, and I think that was it. I just enjoyed the rest of the show. And I don't know, maybe I'm beating a dead horse here.
No, you're good.
Anyways,
I brought up the phone thing. I would tell you what, I was real impressed as we wrap this up. Is Magdalene Rose? We went and saw 7 Day Slumber. Magdalene Rose is now, she's married to
did she get married?
Yeah, to Joe Rojas's son, and so Blaze. But we walked up to her after the show. She was on her cell phone, and as soon as you walked up, she put it down for the whole conversation, like this, paying attention to everybody, not on her phone, like, hey, what was that or whatever. Yeah. I tell you what, a lot of props to a young person. I know sometimes the younger generation can get attached to their phones a little bit,
and she's one of those people, like I talk about it when you go and you talk to her, and I didn't get, into deep conversation with Magdalene Rose, but she's one of those approachable people that seems to, hey, I'm a 50-year-old dude. You know what I mean? But she treated me like anybody else. And I don't know if it was genuine. I like to think it was genuine. She seems like a cool person. And I asked her, "Hey, can I video you doing some stuff for our show?" "Oh yeah, no problem." We did that and stuff like that. And it was cool. And it's great when you come across people like that. Like Kevin from Disciple, one of the first times that I saw him, I was on crutches, but you tell this story much better than I do.
There was a line, and people at the venue were like, "Hey, only a few more." And Kevin's like, and he spoke up, and he didn't embarrass the person in the venue. He just basically said, we'll be able to sign whoever's in line.
We're not leaving
We're
until
not leaving
everybody's
until everybody signs.
Yeah.
And the lady's like that, and he didn't embarrass her, like speak over her.
Yeah.
She's like, okay,
we're here.
Okay. Yeah. We're here.
We ain't got no place to go. This is what we're doing.
Hey, Trey, thank you for your time.
Man, I could continue on and on.
Oh my God.
Come back again.
Yes. And maybe we get your dad. Maybe get your dad on the same time.
Hey, let's play some kind of musical trivia with you and your dad.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Which, one thing before I go, I did want to say
no autographs, please, Trey. No autographs. No.
we were talking about the blues thing, and I don't know, and a lot of people don't listen. This song on my EP kind of gets passed up, but there's one called "Fire in the Night." And it's kind of an acoustic ballad, and it's very different from anything I've done. But if you just skip to the end, there's a guitar solo in there, and it's recorded on a Fender Stratocaster that I redid and made kind of a very bluesy guitar. But it's a very blues inspired solo. So go give that a listen next time we talk. I'd like to hear what you think about that.
Okay, and which one is that?
It's called "Fire in the Night."
Fire in the Night.
We're gonna play it right here.
Oh, let's do it right now.
Listen to the podcast. You're going to hear the song. Thank you, Trey, for coming on. Everybody go to TreyTateMusic.com. You can find Trey there and buy one of those. If you're listening, buy one of those fantastic shirts.
And let's do a favor for you. Throw out your endorsements again so your guitar people will be happy with you.
I don't, and we missed that earlier. I went to talk about it and I completely forgot. So I have 3 endorsements. I have the guitar and bass endorsement through Inspiria Guitars. I also have the shirts are actually done by my second endorsement. It's My Merch Guy. And they do all of my t-shirts. The country band I'm in, we're about to get t-shirts through them. We're sponsored in that band. In this band, I'm sponsored with, or not in this band, but in my solo stuff, I was actually sponsored. I got sponsored first, and then when I kind of joined with him, I helped him get sponsored too. But My Merch Guy, check them out. Love those guys. I'm also endorsed.
Who's your merch guy? How can they find him?
He's called My Merch Guy. Look him up on Facebook. It's literally My Merch Guy.
All right.
I think his Facebook, his website is mymerchguy.com. And my last endorsement is WB Gear. And I've been endorsed by them since 2018, I want to say. So yeah.
And what is WB Gear?
They basically they help musicians. They help musicians get like different equipment and stuff. You can get custom picks through them. I actually had custom picks made for them. I've got 2 different picks. You can find one of them on my website that's for my solo stuff, and then I had some made for when I was in for playing bass in All Came As One. I had some made, and I used to have some. Oh, I do. I've got one right here. So this is the one that I had made for when I play bass in All Came As One. On my back, it's got my signature, and it's got the headstock for my Schecter. And I don't have one with me, but I've got one for Trey Tate Music. If you go to my website, you can actually buy one off of there for like $1.
Nice.
But yeah, they do stuff like that. They help get other equipment. So it's just a cool little endorsement to have. But yeah.
Yeah, why not? Hey, Trey, thanks a lot. This is going to be this, and give me the name of the song again, Aaron.
Fire in the Night.
Fire in the Night. I knew I wasn't going to say it right. That's why I asked you. Hey, Trey, thanks for coming on. Everybody go check out Trey Tate on Spotify and, all the socials. You know the drill. Okay. Like, follow, all that stuff. It's important. It's the same thing you hear about 100 times a day from everybody you hear, you see or hear.
They follow Resurrection Records. I had to wear my badge today.
Don't forget Resurrection Records.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's building up to be quite the label.
Yes.
So great. Thanks, Trey. Yes. Come back. Let's play music trivia with Dad. I think that'll be fun.
Yes.
The 3 of us will gang up on the youngins. All right, man. Take it easy, brother.
Later, guys.